The city of Houston was awake before dawn, restless, feverish, alive. Steam curled from sewer grates, headlights cut through the wet dark, and the sound of sirens drifted like a heartbeat that never stopped in the middle of it all. Beneath a rusted overpass on the east side, Luna Morales sat on the cracked pavement, her knees pulled to her chest. Her hoodie soaked from the rain. People called her street girl, ghost, runaway. No one called her by her real name. She'd been living this way for almost 2 years, drifting from corner to corner, stealing when she had to, running when she didn't. The city didn't see her anymore. That was her magic trick, to disappear, without leaving. But there was one secret she could never erase. The notebook. It was small, bound in leather, stained and worn, tucked deep inside her jacket. She never opened it in public, never let anyone see it. It wasn't hers, not really. It belonged to the man everyone in Houston feared. Damian Vega. The cartel lured. And he was looking for it. The night the world changed began like any other. With hunger. Luna was behind a diner, waiting for the trash to be taken out. The rain had stopped, but the air still smelled like thunder. She checked the notebook again, not to read, just to make sure it was still there, and whispered to herself, 2 more days. Then Mexico. She had enough stolen cash for a bus ticket and maybe a little food. Enough to cross and disappear before anyone found her. At least. That was the plan. Until the black SUV stopped at the corner of the alley. She froze, half hidden behind the dumpster, watching as the passenger door opened. A man stepped out, tall, black suit, clean shoes. And though she couldn't see his face clearly through the rain, she knew him instantly. Vega. He didn't move like someone searching. He moved like someone who already knew where to look. Miss Morales, he said softly, his voice a blade wrapped in silk. Luna's pulse stuttered. Wrong person. You shouldn't lie to me. She stayed still, silent. He stepped closer, his hand slipping into his pocket. You've been very hard to find, clever, resourceful, almost invisible. Almost? He smiled faintly. You took something that doesn't belong to you. Luna's fingers brushed the notebook under her jacket. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you do. She met his gaze for the first time, gray eyes, cold and unreadable, framed by the kind of calm that only came from violence. Why don't you tell me what's inside it? She said, names, he said simply. Numbers, lives, the kind of things that get people killed. Then maybe you shouldn't have written them down. His smile faded. That notebook wasn't meant for you. And yet, she said, here I am. He studied her, the torn clothes, the trembling hands, the eyes that held more fight than fear. How old are you? He asked, old enough to know better than to talk to men like you. He laughed quietly. And yet you keep doing it. Maybe I like danger. No, he said softly. You like control. Something flickered in her chest. Anger, recognition, maybe both. I'm not going back, she whispered. He tilted his head. You think you have a choice? Luna reached into her pocket and pulled a small switchblade. The sound of it snapping open cut through the rain. I think we're about to find out. The next seconds were a blur. He moved faster than she expected, knocking the knife from her hand, grabbing her wrist, twisting it behind her back until she gasped. Don't fight me, he said against her ear. You'll lose, then kill me. His grip tightened. You think that's what I came here to do? Isn't it? He turned her to face him. If I wanted you dead, you'd be gone already. Then what do you want? His voice dropped, low and dangerous. The truth. They stood there, breath to breath, the sound of rain dripping from the eaves. Finally, she said, You killed my brother. He didn't flinch. That's what they told you. I saw it. No, he said, his eyes darkening. You saw what you were meant to see. Her chest tightened. You're lying. I have no reason to. He let go of her wrist and stepped back, his expression unreadable. You think that notebook will expose me. You think it holds the answers. It does. Then open it. Luna froze. What? Open it, he said again. Right now. Read what's inside. Her hands trembled as she pulled it out, unwrapped the damp leather, and flipped it open. Blank. Every page. No names. No numbers. No truth. Her breath caught. No, it was full. 2 weeks ago, maybe, Vega said softly. Before I took it back. Her eyes snapped up. I needed to see how far you'd go. To prove what? That you were your brother's sister. Luna's body went cold. What? He stepped closer. He worked for me, Luna, and when he found out what I really wanted, he tried to stop me. Tried to save you. He died doing it. Her voice broke. You expect me to believe that? No, he said quietly. I expect you to survive it. The rain started again. Harder this time, pounding against the pavement. Swallowing the sound of the city. Luna stared at the blank pages, her heart breaking open in her chest. You used me, she whispered. I protected you. You hunted me. I found you. She looked up at him, eyes full of hate and something far more dangerous, understanding. What now? She asked. He studied her face, the defiance, the fire, the same look her brother once had. Now, he said, you come with me. Before someone else does, and if I don't, then you die for a lie. She didn't answer. She just turned and walked toward the mouth of the alley, the rain soaking through her clothes again. Luna, he said behind her. She stopped. Your brother didn't die because of me, he said softly. He died because he believed you could change everything. She didn't look back. She just whispered, then maybe I will. And she vanished into the storm. Vega stood there for a long time, the rain washing the blood from his hands, his reflection broken in the puddles at his feet. He didn't chase her. Not yet, because he knew she'd come back, and when she did, it wouldn't be to run. It would be to fight. 2 weeks had passed since the night in the alley, and Houston had moved on. Cities always did, but Luna Morales hadn't. She was living on the outskirts now, in a forgotten motel off the I-10, where the walls smelled like mold and the neon sign outside blinked between nitrogen monoxide vacancy and nitrogen monoxide mercy. She worked days washing dishes at a truck stop and spent nights staring at the empty notebook that had once promised her revenge. It still sat on the dresser, pages blank, edges curling from rain. She couldn't bring herself to throw it away. It wasn't just paper. It was the ghost of a life she'd built on hate. The problem with ghosts is they don't leave until they're ready. And neither did Damien Vega. He disappeared after that night. No word. No sightings, nothing. But Luna could feel him everywhere. In the low hum of black cars passing slow down her street. In the man who stared too long at the diner window. In the way her chest tightened every time thunder rolled over the city. She told herself she didn't care. That she'd start over. That she'd forget. But forgetting isn't freedom. It's just a different kind of cage. It was a Thursday. When everything changed again, she was closing up the truck stop kitchen. The smell of grease thick in the air when the lights flickered once, twice, then went out. Great, she muttered, grabbing her phone for a flashlight. That's when she saw him, standing just outside the glass. Vega. He was dressed differently this time. No suit. No guards, just a dark shirt rolled at the sleeves. Rain slicking his hair. Luna's pulse spiked. She walked to the door, her hand tight around the handle. What do you want? His voice was calm. To talk? You don't talk. You command. Not tonight. Then what makes tonight so special? He looked at her through the glass, and for the first time, she thought she saw something that didn't belong on his face. Guilt, maybe even exhaustion. I buried your brother yesterday, he said. Her breath caught. He deserved better than the street they left him on. Luna's chest went cold. You think that makes you noble? No, he said. It makes me responsible. Then maybe you should have thought of that before he died. I've thought of nothing else. Something in his voice, low, broken, too human, made her hesitate. He stepped closer, resting his hand against the door. I can't change what happened, he said. But I can tell you why. She opened the door halfway, the rain rushing in. You have 2 minutes. That's all it ever takes, he murmured. They sat in her small motel room. The sound of the storm pressing against the window like an impatient audience. Vega leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Your brother was part of a shipment we were moving through Juarez. Money, weapons, information. But he wasn't loyal to me, not really. He was working both sides. That's a lie. He met her eyes. It's the truth. He was trying to dismantle the operation from inside. He stole that notebook to trade with the D for your safety. She shook her head. No, he wouldn't. He did, Vega said softly. He loved you, Luna, enough to die for a chance to keep you out of this. Her hands trembled. You killed him anyway. No, he said. I wasn't even there. Then who? Vega's eyes darkened. My second in command. Rafael Cortez. He thought your brother's death would send a message. It did, just not the one he expected. She laughed bitterly. So you killed Cortez, I'm supposed to forgive you, and we all move on. He smiled faintly. No, I didn't kill Cortez. Her breath hitched. Then where is he? Waiting for you. Luna stood, her voice sharp. You're using me as bait. Vega didn't deny it. He wants that notebook. He thinks it still holds the names. He'll come for you again. And you'll just let him? I'll be there first. Why? He looked up at her. Because I made you a promise, even if you never heard it. She frowned. A promise? He nodded slowly. That you'd live long enough to hate me. For a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, she whispered, What if I don't hate you anymore? He smiled, small, sad, like someone remembering what sunlight felt like. Then I failed. She laughed once, hollow. You think this is some kind of redemption story? No, he said quietly. Redemption's for saints. Survival's for sinners. He stood, buttoned his shirt, and walked toward the door. Pack a bag. For what? You're coming with me. To what? The next war? To the truth. And what's that? He paused, turning back to her. That the man who hunted you is now the only one keeping you alive. She didn't move for a long time after he left. The rain had stopped. The air felt heavy, electric. Alive with something she didn't want to name. Because for the first time since her brother died, Luna Morales wasn't running anymore. And she didn't know if that made her brave or doomed. The next morning, Houston was drenched in fog, thick white, and heavy enough to hide everything that wanted to be unseen. Luna Morales stood at the window of the motel, watching the traffic crawl past like ghosts. The rain had left the world slick and quiet, as if the city were holding its breath. She hadn't slept. The notebook sat on the knitstand again, its pages still blank. But now, she knew that wasn't an accident. Damien Vega had taken the truth from her, and left her with silence. She could hate him for that. She wanted to, but hate was simple, and this wasn't. The man who had hunted her now wanted to save her. And she didn't know what was worse, that he might succeed, or that she might let him. He came for her just after sunrise. No convoy. No guards, just him. His car was the kind of black that ate light. Its windows tinted so dark it could have been carrying a ghost. When he stepped out, he looked like one too. Dark shirt, sleeves rolled, scars along his hands she hadn't noticed before. Get in, he said. Where are we going? To finish what your brother started. She folded her arms. That's supposed to mean something? It will. They drove in silence for nearly an hour. The city disappeared behind them, replaced by the endless stretch of back roads, oil fields and sky. Finally, Luna said, You really think Cortez is alive? I don't think, Vega said. I know. Then why hasn't he killed you yet? He smiled faintly. Because he wants me to see what he's building first. She turned toward him. And what's that? Vega's eyes stayed on the road. A war. One built on your brother's name. Luna's chest tightened. You're saying Rafael Cortez has people believing your brother betrayed me. That he died as punishment. He's using his name to rally the others, the ones I once called allies. Her hands trembled. Then I really am the reason. No, Vega said, voice sharp. Cutting. You're not the reason. You're the excuse. She stared out the window, her reflection ghosting over the desert. And what happens when you find him? He didn't answer at first. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet. Then I pay the price. By afternoon, they reached a stretch of desert outside El Campo, miles of dust and dying brush. A single, decaying warehouse stood alone. Sun-bleached and cracked. Vega parked, stepped out, and scanned the horizon. This was one of ours once. A safe house. Cortez took it after he went rogue. Luna followed, wary. What if he's still here? But that's the idea. He reached into the car, grabbed a duffel bag, and tossed it at her feet. Inside guns, ammunition, a small radio, and something else. A phone. Her brother's phone. Her breath caught. Where did you... Cortez sent it to me. A message. A reminder of what I lost. Luna turned it on. The screen flickered to life, cracked and faint. But one video file remained, timestamp, 1 year ago. She pressed play. The image shook. Her brother. Javier, his face bruised, breath ragged. He was tied to a chair, speaking to someone off camera. If you're seeing this, he said, then Viga already knows. He'll come for you. But he's not who you think he is. He's trying to stop what's coming. Cortez, he's not after money anymore. He's after control. Luna's throat closed. Tell her, Javier gasped. Tell my sister to run. Tell her Viga's the only one who can. The sound cut. The image froze on her brother's face. Viga took the phone, turned it off and said quietly, that's the last thing he ever said. Her voice trembled. Why show me this now? Because you needed to know the truth before you hate me for what comes next. What comes next? He looked at her, eyes dark, unreadable. I'm going to end Cortez and everyone who followed him. But I won't survive it. She stepped closer, her voice sharp. You think dying fixes anything? It fixes everything I broke. Damien, she said softly, you can't fix death with more of it. He smiled faintly. Then tell me another way. Walk away. I don't know how. They went inside. The warehouse was silent, filled with the ghosts of old weapons and dust. Luna walked ahead, tracing her fingers along the rusted steel. Why did you really come after me? She asked quietly. Viga stopped. Because your brother made me promise. Her eyes met his. Promise what? He hesitated. That I'd keep you alive, even if it killed me. Luna's chest tightened. And that's what this is, isn't it? A death wish disguised as redemption. He stepped closer, his voice low. It's the only redemption I know. She shook her head. No, redemption isn't dying for what you did. It's living with it. He looked at her for a long time. You sound like him. Maybe that's why you can't kill me. He smiled brokenly. You have no idea how right you are. The sun sank low, turning the desert gold and red. Luna stood by the open doorway, the wind tugging at her hair, the phone still warm in her hand. Behind her, Viga watched, silent, unreadable. Finally, she said, when this is over, what happens to me? He didn't hesitate. You start over. And you? He looked past her, toward the dying light. I don't get to. She turned to him, her voice trembling. Don't make my brother's death an ending. Make it mean something. He smiled faintly, the kind that hurt to see. It already does. Why? Because it brought me to you. For the first time, she didn't look away. And he didn't either. There, in the dying light of the Texas desert, hunted by the ghosts of their past, the hunted girl and the hunter finally understood the truth. That sometimes, the only way out wasn't escape. It was forgiveness. And forgiveness always came with a price. The desert night arrived without mercy. Black, vast and heavy with the scent of gun oil and dust. Wind howled through the cracks in the warehouse, carrying the chill of a storm that hadn't yet come. Luna Morales sat beside a dying lantern, the flickering flame painting her face in gold and shadow. Across from her, Damien Viga loaded his weapon with calm precision, every motion slow, deliberate, practiced. Outside, silence stretched for miles. But silence, in their world, meant danger was listening. You still have time to leave, Viga said, not looking up. Luna shook her head. You already said that 3 times. I was hoping one would stick. You really think I came all this way just to run now? His eyes lifted to hers, sharp, but tired. Running's the only thing that's kept you alive. She met his gaze steadily. Then maybe it's time I stopped surviving. A storm began to gather beyond the horizon, faint thunder, flashes of light behind the black clouds. Luna glanced toward the window. Cortez won't wait for dawn. No, Viga said, sliding the clip into the gun. He'll come at the first sound of rain. Always did like to wash the blood off fast. Something in his voice, too calm, too steady, made her chest ache. You've done this before, she said. He smiled faintly. More times than I care to count. And it always ends the same way? Always. She exhaled, her voice soft. Then maybe this time should end differently. He looked at her, and for a heartbeat, the mask slipped. She saw the exhaustion beneath the command. The man beneath the myth. I don't get different, Luna, he said quietly. Men like me don't change endings. We just drag them out. She stood, stepped closer, her eyes steady. Then maybe that's your problem. He smirked. You think you can rewrite me? I think someone has to. He chuckled under his breath. You sound like your brother. Good, she said. He was right about you. What did he say? That underneath all the blood, you were just a man waiting for someone to tell you that you'd done enough. The words hit him harder than a bullet. He looked away, jaw tight, the gun still in his hand. Luna, he murmured, you should be careful who you try to save. She didn't flinch. Maybe you should stop pretending you don't want to be. The first drops of rain tapped against the roof. Then came the sound they'd been waiting for. Engines. Dozens of them. Headlights cut through the dark. Sweeping over the broken walls. Vega stood, slipped the gun into his holster, and looked at her one last time. When this starts, you run to the south fence. There's a bike hidden under the tarp. You follow the old service road until you hit the canal. No. Luna, I'm not leaving you. His tone turned sharp, commanding again. That's not a request. Then you'll have to make me. He stared at her. Fury, fear, something else, and for a moment she thought he might grab her, force her out. But instead, he said softly, You're your brother's curse. She tilted her head. What's that supposed to mean? That I can't save you without wanting to. The shooting started. Windows shattered. Bullets sliced through metal. Vega moved like something born for war, precise, merciless. Luna ducked behind the crate, grabbed the small pistol he'd left her, and fired toward the door. Bodies fell. Smoke filled the air. The world turned to noise and light. Through it all, she could see him, Damien Vega, cutting through the chaos like a shadow in motion. Like the storm itself had learned how to kill, until she heard him shout her name. Luna. She turned. Cortez was behind her. Tall, clean suit, the rain dripping from his hair. His gun was steady, his smile almost kind. So, he said softly, the girl with the secret finally meets the truth. Luna raised her pistol, her hand trembling. You killed my brother. He nodded. And now I'll kill his legacy. He aimed at her, but before he could fire, Vega's shot tore through the storm. Cortez staggered, fell to one knee. Then another shot, from Cortez's gun. The sound ripped through the warehouse. Vega dropped. No! Luna screamed, firing blindly until the clip clicked empty. Cortez collapsed seconds later. Blood pooling beneath him. The rain grew louder, a wall of sound. Luna crawled to Vega's side, her hands shaking as she pressed them against the wound in his chest. Don't you dare, she whispered, voice breaking. Don't you leave me too. He coughed, blood on his lips, eyes dimming but still fixed on her. Looks like you changed the ending. Shut up. Save your breath. He smiled weakly. You should run. No. Luna, he whispered, his voice a ghost of itself. It's over. Her tears fell onto his face, mixing with the rain. Not yet. He reached up, his hand trembling, brushing a strand of wet hair from her cheek. You look just like him. She shook her head. I'm not my brother. No, he said. You're what he hoped I'd find. Don't say that. Thank you, he murmured, for making me remember what mercy feels like. And then his hand slipped from hers. The storm raged, tearing through the warehouse, drowning out her scream. By morning, the rain had stopped. The warehouse was empty except for the echo of everything that had happened. Luna buried him outside beneath the mesquite trees. Her hands raw, the dirt turning dark with tears. No grave. No name. Just a broken pistol and the blank notebook laid on the mound like an offering. When she was done, she stood in the silence and whispered, You were wrong. The wind carried her words away. You didn't hunt me, she said. You found me. She walked away as the sun broke over the desert, the sky burning gold. Each step took her farther from who she'd been and closer to who she was becoming. Not prey. Not survivor, but witness. Because, in the end, Vega hadn't saved her. He'd shown her how to save herself. And sometimes, that was the only redemption a sinner ever got. The desert remembers everything. It remembers footsteps and blood, names whispered into the wind. And the promises the dying make when the sky turns gold again. Luna Morales walked alone through that morning light, the warehouse shrinking behind her until it was nothing but another scar on the horizon. Her hands were raw. Her eyes burned. But she didn't look back. People always talk about survival like it's a choice. It isn't. It's what's left when everything else is gone. 3 months later, she was living under a different name. The world called her Isabel Cruz now, a waitress at a roadside diner near Marfa, where the desert met the mountains and the stars fell so close you could almost touch them. She served truckers, ranchers, lost travelers, men with stories they'd never tell. And every night when she closed up, she'd walk out behind the diner to smoke a cigarette she never lit and stare at the horizon. The same horizon she'd buried him under. She never took the notebook with her. It stayed in the diner's back office, hidden beneath the floorboards, still blank, still waiting. Sometimes she'd think about writing in it. Not confessions, not names, just the truth. About him, about her brother, about the girl who learned that monsters could bleed and angels could lie. But she never did. Some stories she'd learned don't need to be written to be real. One night, near closing, a man walked in. He wasn't from around here. That much was clear. He had the look of someone who'd crossed borders and buried secrets. Dark hair, eyes too calm, a faint scar just below his chin. He took a seat at the counter and said, "Coffee?" She poured it without a word. When she set the cup down, his hand brushed hers. His skin was rough, warm. "Isabel Cruz," he said softly, testing the name like a memory. Her breath hitched. "You've got the wrong person." "Maybe," he said, smiling faintly. "Maybe not." She stared at him. "Who sent you?" "Someone who used to know a man named Damien Vega." The air went cold. She forced her voice steady. "He's dead." "I know," the man said. "That's why I'm here." He reached into his coat and placed something on the counter. A silver lighter, scratched, heavy. She knew it instantly. It was his. The one Vega had carried the night he died, engraved on the side. "For when the dark forgets the fire." Her throat tightened. "Where did you get this?" "He left it with Miguel Reyes. Said if anything ever happened, it should find its way back to the girl who survived him." She stared at it for a long time, the flickering neon sign outside reflecting off the metal. "Why now?" "Because it's over," the man said. "The last of Cortez's people are gone. Whatever he started, it died with him." "Nothing ever really dies," she murmured. He nodded. "Maybe not. But you don't have to keep carrying it." When he left, she stayed at the counter, holding the lighter in her hand until dawn painted the windows pale. For the first time in months, she lit the cigarette. The smoke curled slow, rising into the air like a ghost, finally free. And when she flicked the lighter shut, she saw it, faint, scratched into the metal just beneath the engraving. Words she'd never noticed before. She was never prey. Her heart stopped. She closed her eyes, the desert wind pushing through the cracks in the walls, and whispered, "You're still watching me, aren't you?" Outside, a storm was gathering over the mountains, the kind that breaks the world open, just to make it clean again. Luna walked out into the parking lot, the lighter still in her hand. The first raindrops hit her face, cold and soft. She didn't flinch because this time she wasn't running. She wasn't hiding. She wasn't anyone's secret anymore. She was the girl who outlived the hunt, the girl who carried the storm, and survived it. And as thunder rolled across the desert, she whispered into the wind, "You were right, Damien. Sometimes the hunted become the light." She opened the lighter, lit the cigarette again, and smiled through the smoke. The world kept moving. But for once it moved with her. The end.